Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of my podcast called Friends in 3D. My name is Katya, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome my today's guest. His name is Pascal, and he is my friend from our stereoscopic community. He is a wonderful photographer, a stereo photographer. He also does a lot of restoration and collecting. He's also a head of a Stereosite website, which hosts articles dedicated to stereos and also stereo galleries. He's also a co-host of the virtual stereoscopic community. So a lot of things. So I'm really happy that you agreed to talk to me today. Thank you so much, and hello.
Hello, Katya. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure too. So before we dive into what you do in terms of stereo and photography, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm from Germany, though my name is French, but I'm actually German. I'm 36 years old by now, and in normal life, I'm a teacher for maths and music. And in my free time, yeah, at the moment, it's all about stereoscopy, honestly.
I see, I see. I'm also a teacher. Well, I'm a university instructor, but it's also my job. So in this sense, we are similar because I also have a hobby of stereoscopy and teaching in my work time. Before we talk about stereoscopy, I wanted to ask you a little bit about photography in general, and maybe you don't have to separate photography and stereoscopy. So I was just wondering, how did these two hobbies come into your life? So was photography like monophotography first and stereoscopy second, or did they come, arrive together? How did it start for you?
Well, actually, I was not that interested in 2D photography, but I was interested in different antique collecting areas, and it was actually that way I came from 2D photography. I was collecting books, I was collecting phonographs, and then I spotted an old camera on an antique market. It was a German Vogtländer camera, and I took it with me, and I found someone who helped me actually take photos with this old camera. And so there was a specific interest in photography before, but not like the photos I take now. Now I take photos in color. I do a lot of post-processing in Photoshop. But at that time, I just took the photos with an 100-year-old camera, and that was my main interest. And then a few months, or maybe half a year later, I spotted the first stereo viewer. And then actually, I immediately stopped taking old 2D photos and completely focused on stereo.
So for you, the way you found out about stereoscopy was through the old stereoscopes, yes, and through
Yes,
the cameras.
yes, absolutely. I had
Mhm.
no clue that there was a community of modern stereo photographers. I
Mhm.
absolutely did not know. I thought I would have discovered some kind of weird, old, crazy technique, and that's how it all started, yes.
I see, I see. So yeah, I was just curious. So when you were taking photos with I mean, 2D photos with this old camera, did you have to also develop and print the photos by yourself, or did you use the lab?
Actually, I was about to learn that, but then I found that stereo viewer. But before, I didn't do it myself. There is one lab remaining in my hometown where you can give your films. Or actually, the camera that I was using was medium format, and they did not use film. I mean roll film. They used I don't know the word in English.
Is that
The
plates?
yeah,
Mhm.
no plates, film, but in the shape of the classical glass plates.
Okay.
I know about the magic, but I didn't do it myself. The magic that I experienced was all the preparation you had to do for every single photo, the way you had to prepare the camera, you had to measure the lighting, you had some tools to kind of translate the lighting conditions to the exposure time. So it was all about that, and I wanted to learn about the chemicals as well. Yeah, but then I discovered 3D.
Yes, and 3D was
And
much more exciting. Yeah.
uh, yes, but not taking photos. That was a step later. It all began with collecting old photos as well. Yeah, maybe because I had already discovered what it meant to have a glass plate with an old photo, and so this was kind of a connection to something that I was already interested in. And then the 3D was an additional magical moment, and I never felt the need to take 3D pictures with an old camera. I have all that I need to do that, but meanwhile there are too many 3D projects that came along, so I had to postpone it, and it wasn't that important. Also because meanwhile I got more interested in experimenting with different distances between the two photos. And that's not possible with an old camera. It's always a fixed distance between the two lenses. And so for me, it doesn't seem that attractive, even though actually that was the starting point with the 2D photography.
I see, I see. So, could you share what kind of 3D projects you were interested in or are interested in right now?
Yeah, sure. But I'm not sure if I have everything right here in my mind for now. Maybe I will have an idea during our chat. The largest area is collecting and of course restoring, which is actually one and the same. I love it when I find something that is complete but very dirty, because I know that I can make it and turn it into a beautiful collector's item. And my main interest is stereoscopy on glass, which are the photos starting in the 1850s
Yeah, it's
up
amazing.
until
Mhm.
up until almost 100 years later, when they changed to film, and I had to find some borders for my collecting activities. So everything on glass is one limit for me, because I prefer the old things, and the mid-century stuff, I don't find them so attractive. I love if the things are older and have no plastic involved. And therefore I love collecting tabletop viewers, and actually that's my main focus: tabletop viewers for glass slides. And of course I have also handhelds, but I would not collect every handheld I can get, but I try to collect every version of the tabletop viewers. But as you can imagine, I'm running out of space all the time.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Where do you keep it?
Everywhere. And the tabletop viewers hardly fit into a cupboard or any box, so they are standing around everywhere. But I think right now it does not look as if I'm hoarding stuff yet, at least. That might change, and I might have to build more special furniture for it. But for now, Achso was a German word. It means like, oh, I forgot, that I don't collect multiple versions of exactly the same viewer. If a viewer is really interesting, I like to have the different varieties of it. But if I have the standard version once and the advanced version once, That's it. If I find one in better condition, I sell what I had before. So I replace. But actually, I need to do it that way because I would have no space, nowhere for every viewer that looks nice.
I see, I see. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the restoration. Well, first of all, did it start with the 3D viewers for you, or did you do restoration before that? And also when you, well, you know, I'm completely, like really completely ignorant about this, so it might be a very stupid question, but when you are restoring these viewers, are you working with with their optics or with the wood, like, you know, with the shell? How does it work?
Okay, the first question was if I started restoring with the stereo viewers. No, I didn't. I was restoring, or maybe actually at first I was cleaning and taking care for the surface of furniture, but very limited. And also for books, I glued them back together or restored the paper. So I was used to different materials. And when it came to mechanics, it was the phonographs that enabled me to work with metal. I failed terribly with the typewriter. I disassembled it and was not able to put it back together. So that preserved me from collecting typewriters. I was very interested, but then I was very disappointed. but it just was like I knew all the different materials that are involved in stereo viewers or in stereo cameras. So I knew about the wooden parts. I knew how to take care of wood or clean or repair or glue it back together. I knew about the painted stuff. I knew about the mechanics, and I knew how to disassemble everything. So disassembly is the essential part, I would say. If you have a brass ornament on a wood and you try to clean it, the borders of the brass will either remain dirty or you will damage the wood that's right beside it. But if you can disassemble it, you can very carefully and very effectively clean every part. And if you put it back together, you will have a result that you would not be able to achieve without disassembly. Yeah, that's part of your second question, but can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, yeah, that's you answered it, because I was asking if you usually work with wood or also, you know, like with the glass part of it, with the lenses of
okay. Yes, I try to clean everything, really everything. The only thing that I normally replace are the nails. If there are small nails, I was lucky to get a large box with vintage nails that perfectly fit for the little labels, because the nails often break if I remove them. Yes, but I really try to clean everything, including the old glass slides sometimes.
I see. Okay.
But I try to never add a new surface that is not removable, if possible. So, for example, if the shellac surface is intact and not badly scratched, I only use oil. And if it's not glossy like it was, I would apply a thin layer of wax and polish it again. But I would never just grind off the shellac and put a new shellac on it. There are times where the shellac is so bad that it would look more like the original if I remove the shellac completely. But I don't like it if it looks like a new stereo viewer that was built with old plans. I want to give the viewers a look as if they had never left the living room of their owners. Mostly they are on attics or in basements or somewhere where they get dirty, dusty, and have traces of water or something like that. And that's what I try to remove. If there are some ones that, yeah, right from a living room where they were left, they are also dirty. But then I do just a little cleaning and refreshing the surface with oil or wax.
So I was wondering, what do you like more? What does give you more pleasure, I would say, collecting or restoring? Or it's hard to say. It's very different. These are very different activities, I can imagine. Yeah.
Indeed, right now, I'm about to do restorations, not for my own collection, for the first time. So if you would ask me in a few months, I could give you probably a better answer to that question. But for now, I restore only for my own collection. So if I spend much money for something that is rare and I can integrate it into my collection, that feels okay. If I spend less money for the same item because it's dirty or even broken and I restore it, it makes me incredibly happy. Not only because I saved money, but also because I actually recreated something that was lost before. And because restoring as an activity is really relaxing, even though you have to be careful, of course, but you can completely dive into that activity.
Yes, I think it's really amazing because you kind of, you bring to life something that was already, almost discarded, and something that you make it like new, but not like new, from our times, but like new from those times, which is really great, I think. And you really like you really amazed me that you use the nail, just like, antique nails for this, which is like, really shows the degree of precision in this activity. That's really amazing.
Yes, I have also maybe a dozen viewers that are only for spare parts, for specific spare parts. Yeah, and sometimes if I have a viewer that is a more desired collector's item, and I have maybe a viewer that I've restored before, but it's a common viewer, I would also take off a piece of that. But normally if I can get around it, I would not reassemble an old viewer from parts of others. Not completely. It's more like I replace one specific part, but only with one that looks or is actually similar. Because sometimes you see on eBay that that someone has replaced with non-original parts, that it will work in the end. It will be a viewer with all parts from the 1920s, but it's not like it would have appeared in the original catalog. So there is a lot to. We could talk for days only about little details in restoration processes. And I'm still learning. I'm still getting new ideas. It's always like a new journey you have with every viewer.
I see. Yeah. I see. It's very interesting. Let's now maybe move to our like contemporary stereo, like taking stereos with the modern devices. So I was wondering when did you start taking stereos with maybe with the phone or with the modern stereo cameras, or if like would you prefer stereo cameras or just phone, just sequential ones? And what kind of topics are you interested in taking stereo pictures?
I started taking sequential stereo photos when I did not know that there was a community, and there has been a community all the time. I just wondered. I learned a lot about the stereo technique by watching my stereo slides, by watching them through the old viewers, by researching about old cameras. And actually, I did not come across modern stereo views in all the time. while I was searching. Of course, I was searching for stereo viewers from France, and the sources in the web would not mention cha-chas, and so I had no clue, and it was some kind of a Christmas celebration of my choir that I was leading in 2016, and I just had that idea that everyone should sit still, and I made a cha-cha. I did not know about it, and at home I searched for different apps to combine. I had no clue that there was Stereo Photo Maker. I discovered that cha-cha method completely on my own with my smartphone. And not much later, I reactivated my old Instagram account, and then I found out that there has been a community right before my eyes, and I did not see it so far. So I started with my smartphone, and after the ISU Congress in 2019 in Lübeck, I bought myself two Canon cameras to build my own rig. I took a few pictures with it, and it always was just like, oh, it's so heavy, and oh, I have to take the SD cards out, insert into my computer, and then put it back on my smartphone to share it on Instagram, and so on. And it always led me back to my smartphone. So I always took sequentials, and I kind of developed a standard workflow for my own. Meanwhile, I also learned, of course, more about hyperstereos, macro stereos, etc. But I was limited to pictures where no one was moving, of course. By now, I have written an article about my workflow, which really enables me to do everything in 3 minutes and only on my smartphone. And that was crucial for me. I wanted to keep it all on my smartphone because the smartphone has the perfect size to free view the result immediately. It's where I do the editing. It's where I take the photos. So for me, the smartphone is the essential device. Maybe also because, as I told you, I was not that interested in 2D photography before, so I never reached the limits of exposure and blend and what else. But most recently, I started to sync two smartphones, two iPhones, the same type, and build a smartphone rig, because I hope that this will be what I was searching for, a lightweight device where I can do all the editing and sharing right on the device while free viewing, but having two synced smartphones enables me to capture moving scenes. And it worked out quite well, honestly, better than I expected, but there are some problems that I have to fix.
Yes, I've heard that with two smartphones, sometimes you have you get different lighting and different colors, and like a little bit like they still take photos a little bit differently. But on the other hand, you can actually increase the baseline, at least, as far as your hands can reach. Yeah.
Yes, actually, I have therefore taken 2 times exactly the same device, and there are no color differences. So that's one thing that worked out quite well. Essentially, I had to disable the autofocus before shooting the photos. And I use a wired shutter because there are so many Bluetooth sticks and remote controls for smartphones that work pretty well, but you can never connect them to 2 smartphones. But some models, like my iPhone, allow to use the volume buttons to release the shutter, and that works also with the volume buttons of your headphone. And so I used 2 old headphones and removed everything except the volume controls, and so I have a synced remote shutter.
I see.
So
That's so cool.
that's basically the key,
Yeah.
and some experimenting with the camera app, and
That's
it works
amazing.
quite well.
Oh, that's very creative.
Stereo photography is always a question of creativity,
That's true. That's
because
true.
we are no mainstream photographers. We are only a small part of the photography community, and so we have to find our own solutions, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I agree because well, now I think there is a new camera, stereo camera on the market, but I think there was no new cameras for quite a while because people
Yes.
were buying this old Fujifilm, yeah, which was already, I don't know, 20 years old or so.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Mm.
That even with the sequential shots, you also have to, kind of go around the fact that everything has to be still, and how you edit it afterwards, the post-production process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so one more thing that I wanted to ask you is about the Stereosite, because it was again your creation. So I was wondering how you came up with this idea, because right now I think it's quite a large project and you have a lot of publications with there. So, but what was the initial idea of this website?
The initial idea was that during the pandemic, I realized that I have time to write something about what I do, and that was mainly about collecting. Actually, I just wanted to share about restoring, about antique viewers and views, but I did not know where. And I asked several persons with own websites, but everyone refused for a collaboration. Yeah, so what should I do? I had to do my own website and do the other way around, making it a space where everyone who has to tell anything, but has not enough to tell to create an own website, has a space where he can just write one article, share one gallery, and don't have to put it somewhere where it gets forgotten. And on the other hand, I wanted to have a space for the community where everyone knows that there are these kinds of articles by different persons, because I really missed it. I really missed a place where you could put more information than on Instagram. So more text in detail, maybe some kind of brief description of anything. And I wanted to have also something like a blog about stereoscopy. Meanwhile, there are more sites with this approach, but they weren't there when I started. When I started, I actually didn't want to do it, but I would have preferred to join into another website. But that's also the reason why the Stereosite is all about collaborating. And actually, while I was building the site, I realized that I had no time anymore to write just about my own stuff. So publishing articles from others has become so time consuming that I don't have time to frequently write about what I do. But still, I feel like that the website has become exactly what I wanted. A place where everyone who has not enough to say for an own website can share knowledge, photos, activities, etc.
Yes, yes. Well, I think it is a fate of all the editors, editors of journals, that you don't have enough time to write your own stuff, but on the other hand, you invite so many people, and you kind of facilitate their publications, that you do like a huge work. So it is very time consuming. So, but I think it's a great project, and I feel like it's really great to see how it's grown, you know, again from your blog into this really big space, and so many different topics are featured there, and of course that it's connected to the virtual stereoscopic community as well. So
Yeah.
so I think it's really works great. So one last question. This again I ask everyone. Do you have any dreams, any ambition when it comes to stereoscopy, to collecting, restoring, taking stereos? You know, like, would you like to achieve something, or do you enjoy this process? You know, for the sake of this process. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, there are viewers that I hope to integrate into my collection once. Of course, there are hopes that I have for my website. Of course, there are places that or events that I like to capture in photos. But actually, all that stereoscopy stuff is so rich by now that I don't really feel like I was trying to get closer to some kind of goal. It's more like I wish I had more time to just spend with stereoscopy, with the different aspects of it. So it's definitely, I enjoy what I have, what I do, and there is too much that I'm excited to experience, excited to share and see. So there is too much that I'm dreaming of, and it's too much to define a goal, a specific goal. Well, that was quite complicated.
Oh, it's no, I understand. I understand what you're talking about, and I don't think it's necessary to have a goal. I think you can just enjoy it for the sake of enjoying this. Yes, or for the sake of
Yeah,
collect it for the sake of collecting or restoring.
but of course there are specific things, but they do not define my whole stereo journey. Like I have a list of viewers that I want to have, that I look out for, or that I ask people for, that I met along the way. And of course, there are maybe projects I would like to do. For example, on my website, I would like to have a new section called Museum. Like it's sometimes difficult to have a blog post about one specific viewer. It would be very short and it would be a mess. But in a gallery, you would also have no additional information to a viewer. So I felt like it would be necessary to have something to show specific items from collectors. Could be cameras, could be viewers, could be also documents, and so that's really specific. But in total, there are too much of those specific little things. So it's just I'm experiencing all the time, and that's what brings me joy.
That's great, and I have worked with the virtual museum once at the archives at the university where I work at, and I think it's a very rewarding thing, you know, to put together the virtual museum and to make it accessible to people. I think it's very interesting, you know, like which information you have to choose to put on your website so that it's enough, you know, for the visitors.
Yes. And I also have the wish to meet some of the people that I'm frequently in contact with. So that's also something that is a completely new experience, and it's only connected to stereoscopy for me. If I would be interested in computer games, that would be more normal for me to interact with people all around the world, and maybe those computer gamers want to meet each other as well. But for me, it first happened with a stereoscopy that I got in contact, and I already met people in other countries, and I traveled to other countries just to meet someone because of the common interest. So that's definitely also very enriching.
Yes, I agree. I think it's wonderful that we can, that this community brings people together. And I was also very lucky to meet a bunch of people on the stereo conventions and somewhere else, and also, of course, by Zoom. So I think it's wonderful, because if it was not for the stereoscopy, we would have never met. Yes, we wouldn't have this conversation. So that's amazing. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for telling, sharing all of those stories. They were very, very interesting. So if you are listening to our chat on Spotify, please check out Pascal's Instagram page, and I'm also going to post a couple of links to his website so that you can see what he is mentioning in our conversations. So again, thank you so much, and I wish you good luck with your with everything that you do, and I hope you achieve what you want to, and I hope it always remains exciting and interesting for you.
Thank you so much, Katya.